Hi, it's Ann, and tonight we'll be reading Little Red Riding Hood. Once there was a little girl whose mother made her a cape hood of soft red cloth. She liked the cape so much and wore it so often that everyone began to call her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, Little Red Riding Hood's mother asked her to take a cake to her grandmother, who lived on the other side of the forest. "Now be careful and stay on the path," she warned. "Don't talk to any wolves." Little Red Riding Hood set off happily. She was so busy singing to herself and picking flowers that she didn't notice a dark shape slinking through the shadows. In the deepest, darkest part of the forest, an enormous wolf sprang out in front of her. "What are you doing, little girl?" he growled. Little Red Riding Hood was so startled she forgot her mother's words. "To visit my granny beyond the forest," she replied. "I'm taking her this cake." The wolf had meant to eat up Little Red Riding Hood then and there, but now had a better idea. "I'll eat the old lady first and have this little girl and her cake for dessert." With a shy smile, he ran off through the trees. The wolf got to the house long before Little Red Riding Hood. He knocked impatiently on the door. "Who is it?" called a gravelly old voice. "Your little granddaughter with a cake for you," he answered. "Lift up the latch and come in." The wolf bounded in and swallowed the grandmother whole. Then he pulled her frilly cap over his big hairy ears, tied a shawl around his huge hairy shoulders, and jumped into her bed. Soon there was another knock at the door. "Who is it?" answered the wolf. "Red Riding Hood with a cake for you. Lift up the latch and come in," he said. Little Red Riding Hood pushed open the door and stared. "Granny, what big ears you have!" she exclaimed. "All the better to hear you with," said the wolf. "Granny, what big eyes you have!" "All the better to see you with," he said. "Granny, what big teeth you have!" "All the better to eat you with," snarled the wolf, jumping up and swallowing Little Red Riding Hood and the cake together in one gulp. Then the wolf yawned. After eating so much, he felt sleepy. So he flopped down on the bed and closed his eyes. In a moment, he was snoring loudly, so loudly that a passing woodcutter heard him. "What a racket," he muttered. "I better see if everything is all right." Quietly, he pushed open the door, and as soon as he saw the wolf's bulging belly, he guessed what had happened. "If I'm quick, perhaps I can save who's ever in there," he thought. He tiptoed over to the bed, picked up a pair of scissors. Snip, snip. He cut open the wolf's tummy, and out sprang Little Red Riding Hood. Snip, snip, and out tumbled her grandmother too. "Can you find some stones?" the woodcutter asked. They went to finding the stones in the wolf's tummy, put them in there, and sewed it right up. Then they all crept away softly. When he woke up, his tummy felt peculiar. "That old granny must have disagreed with me. I better drink some water." So he went to the river, the stones inside of him rattling and rolling with every step. Then he leaned down to drink, and the stones were so heavy he fell right in. Splash! The rushing water swept him away, and no one's heard from him since. Little Red Riding Hood and her granny lived long and happily, thanks to the brave woodcutter. And Little Red Riding Hood never ever talked to another wolf. The end.